My name is Dr. Grace Telesco.
My name is Dr. Grace Telesco.
My name is Dr. Grace Telesco. I'm joined by Dr. Teresa Lily White, Dr. Lenore Walker, Mr. Ed Densel.
Investigation with Dr. T is something that actually was the brainchild of our dean, Dr. Durham. And now, coming up this next season, we're going to be doing it almost weekly, a weekly show on a Thursday night. So lots of really cool guests. It's not just police topics, it's not just corrections topics, but it's topics that are affecting us in kind of all areas. But one of the things that we hope to get across is raising awareness, educating about some of these really important topics like human trafficking, topics like disasters. We did a show, Confessions of a Serial Killer. So for this upcoming season, we've got a couple of really cool things. We're going to have a day in the life of a DEA agent. Another really cool one, which is really close to my heart, is going to be on September 11th. Because not only do we want to talk about 9/11 and the work of the NYPD, but I also want to really look at the mental health outcomes. You know, we also have the human trafficking panel. We are going to bring back our Brevard Sheriff, Sheriff Wayne Ivey. It's always a pleasure to have him on. We're going to have Unfound again, Ed Densel. He'll be coming back a few times, and that's going to be really exciting and interesting too.
So welcome everybody, Dr. Grace Telesco, and we are live streaming from the Fischler College of Education School of Criminal Justice YouTube channel. And my guest tonight is the wonderful, the amazing Brevard Sheriff Wayne Ivey. He's one of our favorite guests, and all of our viewers, Sheriff, you have to know, just adore you. So so happy that you're back, and we're going to be talking about some really interesting stuff here tonight. Recruitment and retention. I'm calling the show tonight "Calling All Units," and well, we are calling all units, but we're having some trouble. Not Brevard, I understand, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Brevard's not having a problem recruiting or retaining. Am I right?
That's exactly right. We're very blessed. First of all, thanks for having me again. I love being on here, and I got to get you to do my intros for everything I do. You give me great credit. So yeah, we're very blessed. You know, one of the things that's really helping us is our community. And when I say our community, people are coming to us from all over the country. They are coming here to work in an area where their community actually loves them, supports them, and believes in them. And so that's huge for those law enforcement officers that are working in other areas of the country where they're not feeling that level of appreciation. So yeah, we're blessed. I'll give you an idea. Just earlier today, I was talking with a sheriff from another county. His county is roughly the same size as ours, maybe a little bit bigger, but he's 170 deputies short, and I'm 25. So you know, those numbers speak for themselves when you look at the difference that this community is making.
Yeah. You know, back in the day, I don't know if you knew this or not about me, but in 1996, my chief asked me to be the commanding officer and lead the recruitment section at the NYPD, and was responsible for attracting 25,000 applicants to take the test. You know, that was a long time ago, 1996. I can't even do the math. I need a calculator to see how long ago that was. But, you know, I just got a text message from Kelsey, your assistant, who shared with me, and she was former NYPD. So we have that in common. But she said she just read an article the other day that there was a 117% increase in cops leaving the NYPD from 2021 to 2023. Now, here's the thing. I mean, when I was there, the full force figures, I think, was like 40,000. And now it's not that at all. And I know that they're having trouble recruiting and retaining. Folks are coming, in droves to other states. So what worked for me when I was trying the initiatives of recruiting may be different now. And I also understand that some departments are facing the challenge of lowering standards in order to attract. Is that your understanding?
That's an absolute. We're seeing all around us where other agencies are doing everything they can to get bodies, and we have refused to lower our standards at the sheriff's office. We absolutely have said we're going to continue to recruit the best of the best. We're going to vet our candidates and make sure that those that we're putting out there are here to not only do the job, but to do it more professionally than anyone else. And that's not a negative cut on any other agency. Each agency does things differently. But for me, as I've discussed before on the show, when I swear our team in, I ask them to do 4 things for me. 1, come to work and have fun. 2, put bad people in jail. 3, do it more professionally than anyone else. And 4, go home safe at the end of each shift. And when you get to number 3, doing it more professionally than anyone else actually starts in the recruiting process. Making sure that you're going to have that level of professionalism starts in that process. And, we heavily vet our candidates. We go back, talk to their school teachers, talk to their neighbors, not the neighbors where they live now, but the neighbors where they lived when they were 13 years old. And if that neighbor tells us that, man, they were a little snot, well, that's a red flag that goes off for us, So we want to make sure those that we're putting out there to wear our uniform, our badge, are going to do it exactly right. And if they do make a mistake, it's going to be made on the side of just an accident, not just being, non-professional and not caring. So, one of the things that I'm seeing a lot of agencies doing is, you talked about lowering their standards. They're lowering their employment standards of what they allow, drug usage. They're lowering their standards of, like for us, you need to have respectful credit. We're not going to hire you if you have horrible credit, because along with credit goes responsibility and accountability. And so, but a lot of agencies are just taking those things off the grid, and they're just trying to get bodies and uniforms out there. So they're doing different things of recruiting tools, letting the law enforcement officers have beards, letting them have ball caps. And listen, it doesn't mean that somebody in a beard or a ball cap can't do the job. For me, what I'm looking for is, when we step out of that car, I want us to be sharp. I want us to be crisp, because your presence handles a lot of the scenario. How you look presents how you act.
Yeah. I mean, there's 2 different things here going on. There's recruitment and retention. So why don't we, since we're already talking about recruitment, maybe we focus on that for a minute. Maybe you can share with our viewers, what are the standards, and maybe what are the standards in your department, but what are sort of national standards or the average standards to become a police officer?
Yeah. So Florida has some of the most stringent standards through Criminal Justice Standards and Training Commission, which I am very proud to have been appointed by the governor to sit as one of the commissioners on that commission. Our standards are very high. They 720 hours of curriculum, as you know, that goes into the police academy, and then the field training programs that go with it, the continuing education. All of those things set a standard way above everybody else. In fact, when we're accepting officers from other states, they come here and they do a 2-week, what we call an EOT, equivalency of training course, to be able to take their standards and make them apply for us. Most states don't require Florida law enforcement officers to do anything in order to meet their standard requirement, because Florida's is so stringent in how they do it. So, for us, when you're first coming in, you're going to fill out your application. You're going to do an oral board, and we sit down and we talk to you. We look at your communication skills. We look at your ability to tell us about the agency and the mission and why you're wanting to get into this profession. You're going to go through not only a drug screen, but also a psychological. And I used to tell people you had to pass the psychological in order to be a law enforcement officer. Now I'm thinking about changing it to you got to fail it, because you got to be crazy at times to do this job. But you're going to go through a psychological, and then also a physical assessment. We want to make sure that you can physically do the job and the things that are often required in this job. And then you come in and you get applied into the academy and go through the 720-hour school. You have to pass the state certification exam, and that's regardless if you're going on the correction side or on the law enforcement side. And it's a challenge. I mean, it is not, some jobs you go down and you apply and you start, 2 days later. This job, you apply, you get hired, and sometimes it's close to a year before you're out on your own doing the job.
Right, right. So you mentioned drug screening. Is besides a drug screening, and is it just a urine analysis, or is it hair, or is it something different now?
For us, it's a urinalysis. And then also, Doc, in addition to those things, we also do a polygraph. Some agencies use a voice stress analysis. We do a polygraph. And I'm gonna try and plug my phone in here. It looks like it's trying to dial me, so just bear with me for just a second.
Sure,
but
sure. I know in while you're getting that together, in NYPD, this is, again, 1,000 years ago, we did hair sample. I mean, they had a random urine analysis that was, once you were on the job, anybody could be randomly tested at any time. But in the beginning, to get on the job, the applicant processing piece, it was hair sample, because then drugs could, I think they could determine marijuana usage up to 30 days or even maybe more through the hair.
Yeah, exactly. When you go back to the standards, some of the things that we get asked about when people are applying with us is things of tattoo policies, piercing policies, things of that nature. And our agency has a very lax tattoo policy. We don't restrict what you can have on your arms. The only place we restrict is nothing on the neck, nothing on the hands. We basically adopted the military code. And when I was running in 2012, the number one question that I got asked by law enforcement officers was what's going to be your tattoo policy? And so some agencies have relaxed that more, and but we adopted the military standard of it to make sure that, again, we're keeping our agency in that professional mold.
Yeah, that would be the same thing with the beard policy, right?
Yeah, our agency does not have beards. We don't allow our deputies to wear beards or ball caps. They can wear a ball cap if they're in inclement weather, on some special detail. Maybe they're working traffic or something of that nature. But other than that, we just want to be sharp and crisp when we step out of the car. We have a community that loves us and they respect us, and we want to make sure we're maintaining that level of love and respect.
Yeah. So the standards are high, and that might mean that your pool is maybe not as great, but that's okay, right?
It is. You want to hire the best of the best. And so while we may get, fewer people through the process, the longevity of those people, the retention of those people is going to pay dividends on the other side. And, Governor DeSantis has been just amazing for law enforcement in the state of Florida, offering a $5,000 signing bonus for law enforcement officers, first-time law enforcement officers, offering signing bonuses for those coming from out of state that want to come here and into the state of Florida, giving law enforcement officers bonuses, at the end of the year, $1,000 bonus for them. Those are the things that are attracting law enforcement officers, not only to the state of Florida, but recruiting them in the door from our local pools as well. And I will tell you that, historically speaking, if you go back to when I was applying to be a law enforcement officer, you were competing against not just 25 or 30 people. You were competing against hundreds of applicants that all wanted to be law enforcement officers. The the attacks on law enforcement, on the profession by the media, the attacks on the profession by the cop haters has all taken its toll on this profession. And so those recruiting numbers are down. That's why, as we, talk about retention, that's why retention becomes even more important today than it was historically.
So can you speak to that? What's going on across the country? And again, this may not be indicative of your particular department, maybe because of the way in which, and I think it is because in the way in which you lead. However, I think that if we look at the trend across the United States, police departments all over the country are experiencing a problem with recruitment, but experiencing a big problem with retention. Why? What's happening?
So, a couple of things are happening, and I'll start with just specific to us. We live on the Space Coast. We are where they, engineers build rockets, and scientists are prevalent among, our community. And so when you have private companies that are coming in, SpaceX, Blue Origin, NASA, all of these companies that are paying big top dollar money, then the dollars and cents start to come into play in the retention side of it. I've lost not only deputies, but corrections deputies to security jobs at these private industries. Amazon comes in and builds massive warehouses, and you're losing, deputies and officers to that. So that's one of the things that we're having to compete against. And I don't believe that law enforcement, the profession of law enforcement, can salary its way out of this situation, because what you see is agency A raises their starting salary by $3,000. Well, now agency B has to raise theirs by $4,000, and now agency C is coming in at $6,000. So agency A is back now having to raise again. So you can't really retain and recruit your way out of this through salary and benefits, because at some point everybody's going to be on an equal playing field. And then what's your recruiting advantage? How are you going to attract people to your agency? So we do it by making sure they know they have a sheriff that stands up for them, that will hold them accountable for their actions, but when their actions are appropriate, is going to stand up to the media or anybody else that's trying to dog them and trying to attack them. We have a community that does the same thing. And so that's helped us in the retention area. The other thing that's helped us is 2 years ago, myself and our chief deputy went to who was then the Senate President, Wilton Simpson, and he's now the agriculture commissioner, and asked him to consider extending the DROP program, the Deferred Retirement Option Plan. And at that time, the DROP program matured at 5 years. So you could enter DROP, but 5 years later, you had to walk out the door. That was it. You were done. We started looking at, well, we're not only losing people, we're losing heavily skilled institutional knowledge because they've matured at their 5 years. So we asked them to extend that to 8 years, and that was tremendous. We actually had people that were already in DROP that were getting close, that changed, said, I'm staying another 3 years. And so that gave us a chance to kind of stop the floodgates from going. So, it's being creative. It's looking at, it's just as important to retain people as it is to recruit them. School resource deputies, we changed the legislation so that you could retire tomorrow as a deputy sheriff and start back the next day as a school resource deputy and still collect your pension versus having to put your pension on hold to come back. So we did some creative things working and partnering with the legislature. And I think those things did us a lot of good in both of those arenas.
Yeah. So how long ago did you join the police department?
Join the police department or become sheriff?
Oh, no, join and become law enforcement.
So I'm trying to get a little bit more light in here if I can to
You're
help
fading.
out. I'm on the side of the road there, just trying to, I didn't want to be late. So see if that helps a little bit. Nope. Does that help a little bit?
A little bit. Yeah, that's good.
So
It's perfect for Halloween.
So I actually, just trying to light it up a little bit. I actually started 43 years ago in law enforcement. Started in the field of corrections, and then from corrections went to be a deputy sheriff and then an investigator. Finally went to work for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement as an agent, a special agent in charge, and special agent supervisor, and then resident agent in charge, and then ran for sheriff. So I've like you, I've seen a lot of the different changes that's gone on in law enforcement over the years.
Yeah. The reason I asked you about like how long ago was it and how did you start out is really to ask you why you were motivated to this profession. Why were you called to this profession? I know that I felt a calling to it. It wasn't just like I have nothing better to do and there's nothing else going on, so I'm just going to do this thing. It was a calling, and it was at a young age too. What about you? What about your experience?
Same thing. 18 years old, fell in love with the idea of being a law enforcement officer, and I would have worked if they'd have just fed me while I was working. Doing this job, I love it. I to this day, Dr. Telesco, I still love this job. I get up every day. I can't wait to put this uniform on. And my wife swears that she's going to buy me pajamas that look like this because this is all she sees me in. But I would have done it for free, and I started out in 1980 making $14,000 a year, and thought, oh man, it's great. They're actually paying me to do what I love. So things have changed. There are still those that are that same exact mindset. And I would say that is on the upper tier side, those that still just want to do the job. There are others that are looking at benefits. They're looking at long-term, strategy. And then there are others that are looking at, okay, this is how much I get paid. I can go here and get paid $5,000 more. I can go here and get paid $10,000 more. So it really is, it's a generational thing, but it's also a mindset thing as well.
Yeah, I think I'm glad you bring up generational thing. I joined the police department when I was 23 years old in 1983. And most of my peers all joined because they wanted to help people and that they felt it was a calling and it's a profession. And when I taught at the police academy, I would ask my recruits, every single, we called it 0 day, which was just like the very first day, introductions. And I would ask them, why did you join the police department? What's your reason? What's your motivation? And 9 times out of 10, they would say the same thing. Really want to help people, really want to make a difference. Some people did talk about the benefits. Some people did talk about advancement and the sexiness of how Hollywood portrays us. It's kind of like either Hollywood is portraying us in a way that is absolutely unrealistic, or we're being portrayed as demons. So that's another big wedge for us in terms of, I would think, retention, recruitment, to join a profession that you feel proud of and that everyone else around you is proud of, makes you feel good at the end of the day. But is that what's happening? It
really does. To some extent it does. I will tell you that Hollywood changes the perception of some people. Some people that are coming into this thing that don't realize not only the dangers, but how fluid this job is. Hollywood changed a lot of the concept of citizens who don't understand why you can't call the office and get a DNA match on somebody. They don't understand the time frame that it takes, or even latent fingerprints or whatever the case may be. It really changed a lot of that perception. I can tell you, we have people that come out of the police academy and we get them into field training, and day 2 of the job, they go on a domestic and end up fighting on the ground with somebody, and come back in and turn their equipment in and say, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And we literally, look at them and kind of shake our heads and go, what did you think this was going to be? You know, it's not
Yeah.
always just
So-
stopping and smiling or helping somebody find their cat in a tree.
Right.
So, and a lot of that, and especially now that I'm a commissioner on the Criminal Justice Standards and Training Commission, a lot of that is we're working with the curriculum. While Florida has a standardized curriculum for law enforcement academies, some of them have softened it as much as possible, where others are saying, hey, this is the real deal. This is what you're going to face when you get out there. So I would much rather have the academies hit them hard, tell them what this is going to be like, and save their time and our time if they're not cut out for this kind of work.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, hours of boredom, moments of terror is the motto, you know, and
hurry up and wait. Hurry up and wait.
hurry up and wait. That's right. Especially when you have to go for a detail. You know,
Yeah.
it's an 0600 report, but nothing really starts until 10 o'clock. But let's talk for a minute about the realities of policing. And so there's this outside stressor, which is the media, perception, even, and when I say the media, I'm not just talking about, you know, Hollywood, I'm talking about the news media as well. And most communities really support, I think, really support policing. And there are some problems, and we can't just like put our head in the sand and say that these things don't exist. So there's these outside stressors. There's intra-organizational stress that the police officer faces. There's police work itself, as you mentioned, you know, rolling around on the floor, the dangers of policing, and the mental health aspect. So how much of retention and the problems of retention are burnout?
Well, a lot of them are burnout. A lot of them are, you know, if I make one wrong step, my career's over. Or in some cases, even worse, in some areas where the prosecutors have decided they'd rather go after cops than they would, you know, hardened criminals. You know, that weighs on you. And I find it very intriguing and very interesting that each year, 7,000 patients die as the result of bad handwriting on behalf of doctors. But yet nobody protests the doctors, nobody burns hospitals down, nobody, you know, does those things. But one bad, horrible police officer that does something, now all the police officers are bad, and now all of a sudden we need reform, we need this and that. So, you know, what we need to do is hold those bad police officers accountable for their bad actions, and then also, you know, hold other professions accountable for their bad actions and their bad actors. So, you know, that's definitely a stressor. As I tell my team, look, I'm not worried about you being on the 6 o'clock news. I'm worried about you being on that granite wall up in Washington, D.C., where slain police officers are at. And so, you know, that again comes back to, how do you avoid the bad things? You know, I'll use George Floyd, for example. What happened with George Floyd should have never, ever happened. Not one thing you've ever been trained to do or I've ever been trained to do tells you to kneel on somebody's neck. Just absolutely bad actor, bad character, bad tarnish on our badges. But when you look at it, not only tarnished that bad police officer's badge, it tarnished all of the police officers across the country's badges. Well, that weighs on those officers, that weighs on them, and it kept some from wanting to join the force. It had others throw the towel in early and say, I'm done, I'm out of this. When all along, every profession has a bad player in it, every single profession out there. And so, but law enforcement officers now all of a sudden become, you know, under scrutiny on every little thing. One of the things that came out of that was a lot of the media hyping up, you know, oh, you know, communities are down on law enforcement officers and this, that. I promise you that you can go to almost any community out there, and 99% of that community loves their law enforcement officers and appreciates what they do. It's a very small, vocal group of ankle biters that don't like their law enforcement officers. And that group gets all the attention, when the reality is the average citizen out here just appreciates being able to wake up in the morning and go to work or take their kids to school safely and come back home. So that's one of the stigmas that we have to we as a profession do better at letting people know our citizens love us. And I say this all the time about our community. This is 100% reality. Our citizens love us, trust us, and protect us just as much as we love, trust, and protect them. Man, we put up something on our Facebook page and somebody will go on there and make a negative comment. And before we can deal with it, our citizens have attacked them. And I almost feel bad for them sometimes. I'm like, whoa, man, you asked for more, got more than you asked for there, So that's what's great about, and I think most communities are really that way.
But I think that also a good police department or a good sheriff's department, is like a direct reflection of the leader. So, your leadership, you set the tone. You back up your guys, but at the same time, you won't put your head in the sand. If there's an issue, you address it. Right. You're head on, will address it. Training is an issue. You brought that up. So there's supervision, there's leadership, there's training. And also your department, I think, is the gold standard for the best PR and the best social media. Like you get out in front of it by using
right.
social media and technology to your benefit. And
yep.
I mean, you're amazing in that way. Could you share with us some of your best practices?
Yeah. So everything you see on our Facebook page, I author. I'm the sheriff. I'm the one that if it's bad, I'm going to have to eat it. If it's good, then the agency did it, and I'm promoting them and all the things that they do. So our best practice has always been transparency. We're the agency that at one point had two deputies, or I'm sorry, 2 corrections deputies and a deputy in 2 days get arrested for DUI. And I think that's got to be some kind of world record or something. I'm not sure, but we literally called our own press conference. We didn't wait for the media to dig it up or for it to leak out. I called the press conference and I put it out there. And I absolutely believe that if you starve the media of what's going on, or if you hide things, they're going to dig and dig and dig till they find it. So you're basically looking at what could have been a 1-day news story now becoming a 5-day news story. So I just put it out there. Here it is. The ugly, here it is. We put up on our own social media. Now, one of the things that we have been able to successfully do is on one Facebook page alone, we reach 433,000 people. And so I don't need the media to put our message out. I have the ability to put our message out straight to our public. They hear it straight from their sheriff, the good and the bad. And that way they know what's really going on. So our best practice has been creating a partnership with our community using social media, which has really become the community policing of this century.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Our chat right now is blowing up. So I'm going to go to the chat. I'm going to ask for Justin and Layla to come on. You've met Layla, I'm sure, but you never met Justin. Justin Campbell is our project manager, along with Layla Horton. And you remember Layla, right, Sheriff? I know you.
I do.
You must remember her. But Justin, you've never met. He's a rising and shining star in our NSU family, along with Layla. So maybe Justin, why don't you go first? The chat is blowing up, and I know that you have the ability to kind of like assess the best questions for the sheriff. You go first, and then Layla will tag team. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So one question that did stand out to me was if, like how you were talking about, sometimes officers might, like the one you were saying that got into a domestic violence case, you were saying that the next day they left. One person asked if your department provides a type of mentorship program to help new officers adapt to the culture and expectations.
Yeah, we actually do. That's part of our field training program. So, when you come out here and you climb in the patrol car for the first time, it's an eye-opening experience. And so part of our field training initiative is getting them acclimated to not just the job, but getting them acclimated to the different types of things they're going to see. And so, when we have a trainee riding in the car, rather than them just waiting on the calls that they're going to be dispatched to, we take them to the other calls too, trying to get them acclimated as quickly as possible. Maybe that's a wreck, maybe it's a domestic, maybe it's an animal abuse case, maybe it's a burglary, whatever it is. We want to try and get them, we kind of call it drinking out of a fire hose. But through good field training officers and offering them mentoring, and we also try and work at it from a mental health aspect too, Justin, because this stuff will wear on you in time, and it might be something. Just recently, we had a tragedy in our community where a small child with Down syndrome drowned. That has a lasting impact on your troops. And so we work with EAP, and we work with, officers that have dealt with this before, trying to get them to understand and cope with those things and to talk about it. One of the things that I tell our team is, in our business, we 1056, which means you'll see this a lot of times. You'll see two deputy cars that are pulled up driver's window to driver's window, and they're talking about whatever is going on. We'll pull up to each other and say, "Hey man, how you doing?" And the other one will say, "I'm fine." And then we never ask, "Well, what does that mean? How fine are you? What's going on in your life?" We talk about the cases we work or the incidents we work, but we never dig deeper into trying to make sure that person's mentally okay in there. And not long ago, we had one of our deputies commit suicide, and it really took its toll on our agency. And so, there again, we were working especially with our younger troops to try and get them to understand they need to talk to people. They need to try and make sure they're opening up about what they're struggling with.
Great. I forgot to mention that Justin and Layla both are criminal justice majors in the undergraduate program. Layla is the vice president of Alpha Phi Sigma, which is let me reframe that for our chapter, right? For Omega Tau, she's the vice president, and Alpha Phi Sigma is a criminal justice honor society. And thanks to Layla Horton and Nicole Crimmy, these two undergraduate students have really brought our chapter to life, because it was on ice. It was in the freezer, and they took it out and they thawed it out, and they put life into it. And Layla, how many people do we have now in our chapter?
As of right now, we're growing. So we have about like 10, I would say 10-ish active members. So
10-ish? What's ish? What does that mean? Is that half of a person? What is that?
I know what this means.
Yeah, we're trying to recruit. We're trying to recruit more, but we had like 0 before, and now we have 10. So it sounds small, but we're growing. So I want to say thank you. Shout out to Layla and to Nicole Crimmy for doing that, for getting our chapter off the ground. And the other thing I just wanted to mention is that today we had an amazing thing, Sheriff. We, for the very first time in the Introduction to Criminal Justice class, took a group of students, undergrads, all criminal justice folks, to the courthouse, to the 17th Judicial Circuit courthouse. And they got to witness a mental health court, a criminal court. They got to meet judges. They got to meet the state attorney. And it was just really eye-opening, I think, for them to see that everything that you might see on Law and Order is not the same as it's happening in real life. Like we witnessed today, a mental health court judge who was navigating and helping to collaborate with all these different agencies to get help for this defendant who's mentally ill and needed help. Yeah. And so if there's this notion that that the criminal justice system is failing us, I don't know if we should paint that broad brush stroke on that. Well, what's your feeling on that, Sheriff?
So, I always tell everyone that one of the ways to lower your crime rate is through being aggressive on going after, those that are breaking the law, going after bad people, and then also be equally as aggressive on the other side of trying to make sure that you're getting those people rehabilitated or placed back into society where they can be productive members of society. Doing one without the other is not going to help lower your crime rate. So we try and bookend it as we go. But part of that, and the in-between part of that, is making sure that you have a state attorney or you have a prosecutor's office that is looking to place people where they really need to be placed. Look, there are people in our society, unfortunately, that the only place you're ever going to keep them from committing crime is to put their butts right in jail and keep them there. That's the only way to keep citizens safe, is to lock that segment of society up and keep them locked up. There's another segment of society that, and especially as we see right now with the opioid epidemic, which is just ravaging communities across this country. The second part of that is identifying who's a drug dealer that needs to go to prison, who is someone that got addicted to opiates at this point and needs some type of rehabilitative treatment, some type of program, but they're not the type of person that needs to be sitting in prison. And we see that a lot right now because with this epidemic we're facing, so many of the people that are being addicted to it were never drug addicts before. They maybe were in a motorcycle wreck and started, trying to do pain management. Maybe they're 70 years old and had hip replacement and through pain management. So those are the ones that, as we encounter them, just because they're not somebody that's been a long-term drug addict or a long-term drug dealer, when their actions put them in the criminal realm, then we have to deal with it. And that's where having a great partnership with not only the prosecutor, but programs that are like you were talking about. For example, we have in our community, we have drug court. We have veterans court, where our veterans that are on the, nonviolent type crimes, we're trying to get them into a program, a place that we're going to be able to help them. So when you look at things through those tiers, and then you put the people that need help in a help role, and you put those that need to just be locked up and throw the key away. That's how you lower your crime rate. Does that system work? In Brevard County, since I became sheriff in 2013, our crime rate has dropped 52%. Our population has gone up, I think 17%, but our crime rate has been cut in over half. So yeah, it works, but it's a collective effort, even collective into having partnerships with private industry that are maybe adding beds to their facility to help those that are drug addicted. We have a program, we just changed the name of it, and I apologize, I can't think of the new name, but it used to be called REACH. And that was Reentry and Choices Hub, so that when somebody gets out of jail, we're getting them their ID, we're getting them trained in OSHA training so they can go get a job on a construction site, whatever it is, we're trying to get them back to be productive members of society.
So, and all of that translates into sort of the gold standards and best practices in a particular law enforcement agency. And when you have an agency that is engaged and involved in these sort of gold standards, if you will, and best practices, that translates into retention of officers and easy recruitment. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. One of the things that I kind of hang my hat on, and I've said this on your program before, but it fits right into our recruitment retention conversation, is I lead by standing around. I stand behind my people when they need a kick in their butt. I stand beside them in the trenches when they're working. I was out till 1 o'clock in the morning last night with our team, out arresting people, out, in car chases, everything else. So I stand behind them when they need a kick in the butt, stand beside them in the trenches when they're working. I stand in front of them if somebody's talking crap about them. And other than that, I stand back and I watch them do amazing stuff. And so that's what our law enforcement teams need today. They need a leader that is going to make sure they're able to do their jobs. They're able to put bad people in jail. Their community loves them for it. And they've got somebody that's going to do two things: stand up for them when they do it right, and hold them accountable when they do it wrong, and get them the right training to know the difference.
Perfect. Layla, you want to grab one of these comments or questions for Sheriff Ivey?
Yes, hi, Mr. Ivey. One of the questions I see that was a really good one. It says by Melissa. She said, "Do you see a need for more training initiatives such as bi-yearly firearms training or any other specialty trainings?"
So, thank you, Melissa. That's a great question too. That you can never have enough training. One of the challenges with agencies that are hurting for employees, hurting for team members, is finding the additional time to do training. When your people are working all the time, you can't break them free to attend advanced training, continuing education, things of that nature. So that becomes a challenge in itself. But continued firearm training, continued defensive tactics training, mental health training. For example, we have a program within our agency that is called our SISM team. And on each shift, each precinct has somebody on patrol that is trained to recognize a critical incident, a mental health issue versus criminality. And so we try and get them to respond to that incident. They're identifying this person might have Asperger's, for example, or this person may have some type of issue that's keeping them from understanding and communicating with us. We kind of developed ours from the Memphis model, what's called the Memphis model. Having training in all of those arenas, having training in firearms, taser, pepper spray, all of that is just one aspect of it. But the other aspects of it are legal, knowing the latest legislative changes, all of those things. So it is a mountain of challenges that comes with it, especially when you have an agency like I do of 1,700 people. And then multiple disciplines. We have law enforcement side, we have the correction side, we have telecommunicators, all of those things that fall into place. So it's definitely, there's no question you can never have enough training, and your team likes to go to training too. So we try and do it as much as we can.
Justin, you have a comment there, right? That you want to ask the sheriff about?
Yeah, there was another comment that actually stood out. It was on if your department conducts any employee satisfaction surveys.
So, we don't have like a mechanism for them to talk about or to put in, like a suggestion box, I guess I will call it. In today's time, it would be electronic suggestion box. What we try to do is have our finger on the pulse of the morale out here. And I'll give you an example of our morale. We just had to ratify our contract through the PBA, and we accelerated the contract to give our team a pay raise sooner than the contract actually called for. So we had to go back and vote that contract again. And when everybody had voted there, as I said, we're an agency of 1,700 people. Within our agency, only 4 people voted against the contract. I think there was 667 that voted yes and 4 no's. So that gives you a little finger on the pulse, or a little barometer, if you will, of how the morale is working. One of the things that I do is I call it the genie in the bottle. A lot of times I'll ask our team members, just in passing, because I try to be out here with them as much as I can. I'll ask our team members, if you're walking down the beach today and you found a lamp and you rubbed it and a genie popped out and said, I'm going to give you 3 wishes to make the Brevard County Sheriff's Office safer, funner, whatever it is, what would your 3 wishes be? And then I take those 3 wishes to note and look at, can we do it? Is it financially feasible? Is there a policy or a law against it? Any of those things. And then we try and make it happen. A perfect example of that type of application is I was getting a lot of feedback that our deputies wanted to go to outer load-bearing vests. Instead of wearing the vest under their uniform, they actually wear it on the outside, and all of their equipment comes off of their belt and goes up on the front of their vest, everything but their handgun and their magazines. So I was a little bit resistant to it at first, because again, we go back to what I said earlier. I want us to maintain that professional bearing. I want us to look sharp and crisp. And the outer vest takes a little bit of that away, or at least I thought. So I kept hearing it from our team, kept hearing it from them. We looked at some different options, and we found a vest that they could live with and I could live with, and they're ecstatic. They're just ready to get them on and do it. And then we also looked at the aspect of, not only is it more tactical, not only is it something they wanted, but it's also a health issue too, because it takes off all the weight off their gun belt and off their lower back and distributes it across their body where they can carry it a little bit better.
See, and that just speaks to you as a leader listening and hearing.
Yeah,
and
Right.
like, okay, so you have your mind made up about something, but then, you're open-minded, you're flexible, you're listening, and you're weighing it. And like you said, you
Yeah.
compromise, and come up with something that you both can live with. And to me, that's an effective leader right there.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I want my team to be happy. You can't make everybody happy. We always hear about the 100% mark. You can't make 100% of people happy, but you can certainly shoot for it, and you can certainly get as close as you can get. But you have to keep in perspective, no matter what. You could give somebody $1,000 a bonus, and they would complain that you didn't give them 1,100. But
and they would complain that they would complain that they'd have to come in and get the check. They want it to be directly deposited. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what you do is you just kind of lock that kind of negativity out and look at the positive side of how many people are really appreciative of what you're doing.
Exactly. I mean, I think at the end of the day, and I would like our viewers to understand that, by and large, the folks that join this profession are really seeking to help people. By and large, that's why they take the job. It's not for the money, even though, yes, I think that, the sign-in bonuses and a lot of the benefits are tremendous. Still, if you're here to make money, you're in the wrong profession, right? That's
Right.
not what it's about. Become an investment banker or whatever else, you got to do. But I think that by and large, police officers are good people, that they're called to this as a profession, as a calling, and it's a career. It's not a job. And
Right.
I also think that for the most part, the communities, and when we say community, by the way, and that this is another show that I think we should do in the future, maybe in the spring. Can I get you to agree to come back in the spring?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Absolutely. I'll always come back for you.
Okay, good. But I think that, when we say community, we're talking about a lot of different things, and there isn't just one community. There's many communities. And you could probably talk to that in Brevard. You probably have one type of community depending on the geography. You might have a horse community. You might have your beach community. Am I right? There's all different kinds of communities.
1,000%. Yeah.
And
I mean, literally in the 20 miles width of our county, you can go from cattle to beach in 20 miles. In the 78 miles of our county, you can go from heavily populated areas that are more contemporary to areas that are blighted and need help.
Right. And in those communities that are struggling and hurting, there's probably higher crime.
Exactly. And then there's another side of it. So for example, we have the busiest passenger cruise port in the world, here in my community. How you police that is completely different than how you police a different area of the community, because you're dealing with a different type of person. They're all, ecstatic. They're going on a cruise. They're happy. They're excited. They make mistakes. You can't imagine how many people leave their car running in the parking garage, and just in their hurry to get to the ship. So it's a different type of policing that you have to make sure you have the right temperament for. It's also a different type of policing that you have to go from zero when you're laughing and joking with people getting on a ship to one of our dogs finds a mass of narcotics in somebody's luggage, and now you're having to make an arrest. So there's all sorts of different elements out there that you have to be able to adapt to in split seconds.
Absolutely. And speaking of dogs, how's our boy doing?
So he is, I'll see if you can see him. Let's see. I'm trying to find him back there. I don't know if you can see him or not.
I see him. He's asleep.
Yeah, that's what he does 90% of his life. So he
Who's got it better than him?
yeah, nobody. So but we did in regards to Junie, about 5 months ago, we found that he had oral melanoma on his gum, and oral melanoma in a dog is pretty aggressive. Luckily, I found it. It was less than 1 centimeter, and we were able to get it out of there, did some jaw surgery. And today he went for his 5 months x-ray, and his body is completely free. So
Oh, thank God.
he and I have been celebrating all day long. Of course, we pretty much celebrate every day by eating. That's what he and I like to do. So,
Well, thank
but,
God for
yeah,
that. I wish I had known we would have been praying for him. We've
Yeah.
adopted him, NSU.
Yeah.
We've kind of adopted Junie. We love him.
yeah, he's doing great though, and thank you.
Yeah. So, Sheriff, thank you so much. I'm not going to hold you up anymore. Obviously, you pulled off to the side of the road so that you can continue to do the live stream for us, and we are so grateful for you. We're grateful for your leadership, everything that you model, for us and for our criminal justice students. Thank you for coming on tonight. We'll talk in the future about the next show and next season and the topic that you'd like to tackle. And so I don't want to hold you up anymore. I do want to do a shameless plug for the Davie Police. We're partnered with the Davie Police. We reside within Davie. That's where our school is located. That's where the main campus is anyway. And we're partners with Davie. And we partner with them on a recruitment video. Now, you don't have to leave, Sheriff, if you don't want to. But I want to plug Davie for a minute because they're in the middle of a recruitment campaign. So if you don't mind, I'm going to shamelessly plug.
I'd like to see it. Yeah, go ahead. Let me see.
All right. And this is something that we produced for the Davie Police.
The town of Davie is a sprawling suburb located in the heart of Brevard County with a population of 108,000 residents. Davie is different and unique from all other municipalities in South Florida, encompassing 37 miles of lush green open space with numerous parks, horse trails, businesses, colleges, and universities. Beautiful residential areas, entertainment venues, and a short drive to the beach. Come to our South Florida paradise and join the men and women of the Davie Police Department. Our officers are invested in our town so that their families have a great place to live. The Patrol Division is the backbone of the agency. You'll start your career here, and you'll be the first to respond to a call for help. While on patrol, you'll meet residents, business owners, and visitors to our town. Working for a police department is challenging. You will quickly learn that our residents value us, depend on us, and we're there when they need us. The Davie Police Department has 300 members comprised of sworn personnel and professional administrative staff. You'll find the specialty units you're looking for, including the Mounted Unit, Dive Team, Motor Unit, Criminal Investigations, SRT, Community Policing, and more. What was once a quiet farm town is now a unique, thriving, growing community. We're ideally located near the Fort Lauderdale-Hollywood International Airport and Port Everglades. You can easily catch a flight or cruise of your choice, or attend a local sports game with the many national professional South Florida sports teams in Davie's backyard. Also, don't forget about our great weather year-round. The Davie Police Department offers you a lifelong career to success. You have the training, technology, and equipment for modern-day policing. Our training prepares us for any scenario. It could be a resident call for service up to a critical incident response. So why choose Davie Police Department for your law enforcement career? Did you know you can retire after 20 years of service? Did you know you get a take-home car? Did you know that you will receive a $5,000 state of Florida incentive pay for becoming a police officer and an additional $2,500 sign-on bonus from the town of Davie? These are just a few of the many reasons to join Davie Police Department. If you have the heart, determination, and commitment to help others, make the decision to be a public servant and choose Davie PD. Contact us and we'll help you take the next step to make the Davie Police Department your home. Davie is the town where you can live, work, and play. Come join the Davie Police Department and be part of something great.
So we're kind of proud of that one, you know? What did
Very
you
nice.
think,
That's
Sheriff?
nice. I loved it. It flows very nice. It's very informative. I think they did a great job. You guys did it at getting in a lot of their team members, which makes them take pride and have an immediate stake investment in it. So I thought it was good. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, listen, we don't have your media department, you know, but we did the best we could. Anyway, so if you're interested, this is just sort of a shameless plug for Davie Police. They are recruiting, and you can just go to their website and scan the barcode, and it takes you right to the application. Once again, Sheriff Ivey, thank you so much. Be safe out
Of
there.
course.
We love what you do. We love everything about you and your department, and we look forward to
Thank
seeing you again in the future.
All right, you guys got to come up. You know, we got to go eat and go shoot a little bit.
That's
So
right. Next,
you,
next, I think we're doing that in the spring. We just came from a big
All right.
Port St. Lucie trip that I'm still recovering from, but we
All
will
right.
be we'll be coming up to Brevard and talking to Kelsey and you about when we're going to do that trip.
All right, sounds great. Thank you
All
for
right.
having me again, and
All
for
right,
all you
sir.
do to promote our profession. Take care.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.